And welcome back to The Factor Uncensored. This is a topic people have been talking about for months all around the country. From the universities of Utah to North Florida, we're all witnessing in real time the death of diversity, equity, and inclusion programs all across the country. You know it as DEI, a dirty word for many. So what does that mean for people of color in America that it's dying? Many schools have dumped cultural centers and programs aimed at helping minorities. Experts say it's not just schools, but the government and private businesses as well. A national expert says this will lead to more discrimination lawsuits being filed in local courts and federal courts alike. Human resource management consultant and author Dante King, who is ringing the alarm to the public. We talked to him tonight.
When we think about the ways that Black people are required to be almost perfect and to literally be perfect in many instances in order to get through certain doors, this is going to have a phenomenal impact on the Black community, because as we are disenfranchised again, by this country called America, and as opportunities and access are taken away from us, it will ensure that we will not be able to compete in the ways that we have been able to compete over the last 60, 70 plus years. And so I think we have to understand that these moves, these very strategic, systematic moves, are meant to intentionally harm and disenfranchise Black people in America once again. And this has always been the case.
And the dismantling of diversity, equity, and inclusion programs, that has begun already, right?
It has. It has. Again, as I mentioned, in many colleges, universities, I know that, for example, Starbucks, there are some other corporations who are getting rid of their programs because it's not safe from a fiscal standpoint. They are literally.
And I wanted to say this, Dante, they are not under any mandate to do it. You're saying they're being safe to do it because they don't want any backlash from any governmental entities or elected officials.
For sure, but more than that, there is a company called America's First Legal, which is led by Stephen Miller, who I believe was nominated to be Donald Trump's either chief of staff or chief legal counsel in the White House. And they have been targeting these organizations by bringing lawsuits forth. And so, as we saw with the Black women-owned venture capitalist firm that was extending small grants to Black women-owned businesses, they actually got the Supreme Court to rule against that firm, and that firm had to settle that case. And so it's more than just companies trying to or wanting to play it safe. There are some potentially significant legal or economic ramifications for companies that have these policies. And what I have been partnering with different organizations to do is go back to rebrand and use language that has a basis in law, such as discrimination, harassment, disparate treatment. Because if those key terms have a standing and a basis in law. They're substantiated by the Civil Rights Act of 1964, all of the title programs, Title VI, Title VII, Title VIII, Title IX. Once you move away and you start talking about things that don't have a basis in law, it sets you up, it sets a company or an organization up to be vulnerable. And so diversity, equity, inclusion does not have a standing or basis in law.
Do you anticipate seeing more individuals having to take the legal route and file lawsuits when they didn't get a job and they feel like they deserved a job, or when a firm or an entity should have received a contract and didn't get a contract because there is no diversity, equity, or inclusion anymore? Do you see more individuals, particularly minority-owned companies and individuals who are minorities, having to file lawsuits now?
I do. I see more class action lawsuits because we will be able to, I think, within the next 2 to 5 years, see somewhat of an overhauling where companies feel that they can outright discriminate against non-white people. And how this is going to show up, I mean, we've gotten a glimpse of it already, where people, mostly who are white, espouse that people of color just are inherently not qualified. We saw that with the CEO of Wells Fargo a few years ago, where he says, you know, that Black talent is scarce. We saw it with the treatment of Vice President Kamala Harris, her running for the presidency, and she was characterized as a DEI and or affirmative action president. And so, or presidential candidate. And so we need to understand then how this is going to play out by continuing to advantage white people. Because let's be very clear, race and racial identity has always been considered in America. It's just worked in favor for white people. And so we will see more homogeneity in certain roles at certain levels in companies or organizations, at the cabinet level, at the executive level. I mean, we already see it. We already see the discrimination cases that you know, have been mounting over the last few decades. And so I just think that my only concern or hesitation are how the courts are going to move in these cases in different jurisdictions, because we can see that many conservative leaning courts are doing just that. They're leaning and ruling in favor of protecting white supremacy